Truckers in Canada headed to Ottawa to protest against the COVID tyranny imposed by their Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. There was overwhelming support from the public, who had braved the bitter winter cold and came out to show support. This has now become a global movement. Would the Canadian government listen to the people's voice?
Here's what I find so fascinating about this, and I want to go back to GTV and G News. I think GTV and G News, even better than the Epoch Times, which is from Canada, the TV, have done, both of them, but even GTV and G News probably even better, and those guys have done a pretty good job, have documented over the last couple of years how Trudeau, of everybody in the world stage that kowtows to the Chinese Communist Party, he is the one that kowtows the most. Right? He is the most aligned on the world stage to kowtowing to the Chinese Communist Party. Yet, in a situation where you have the PLA's virus from the Wuhan lab that has clearly infected this country, has infected everybody else, to the point that it may be waning to a degree, his draconian measures are some of the most draconian of all. And the Canadian people, being so obedient, have kind of gone along with this for 2 years. And finally, it was just these working class people, really Canadian Lao Beijing, the truckers, that said, we finally had enough and we're just not going to do this anymore. We're not going to do the mask mandates. We're not going to do your vaccine passports. We're not going to do anything. And with no money and no support in Canadian broadcasting, and this is why, as an example, the Canadian media, I think, is as bad as the Chinese media in mainland China. They're just not going to report what they don't report, and they're going to have another false narrative. It's broken through. And the War Room had a very small part in that, but it was, I think, alternative media like GTV, G News, War Room, and others that gave this story some lift and was able to get it out and promulgate it throughout the world and show you the lies. And so it's been, to me, quite incredible. And it's really spreading. I mean, it's got very potent political power, because now they've shut down the Ambassador Bridge across Detroit, which is $1 billion of auto parts every day. And so this is going to be quite, this is a long way from over. And I think it's interesting that the one person, political figure, that has, Klaus Schwab, we had a clip the other day, 2/3 of his cabinet, of Trudeau's cabinet, are from the World Economic Forum, global leaders, that junior leadership program they run. And nothing's more infiltrated with the Chinese Communist Party's globalist ambitions than the World Economic Forum. And so here is the government that is kowtows the most to the CCP, and yet has the most draconian restrictions on their citizens, and it's been overthrown by Canadian truckers. I think that this is a very strong lesson to Lao Beijing in China. The only people that can take down the Chinese Communist Party is the Lao Beijing, is the people of China. Ourselves, War Room, myself, we've dedicated our life to be in support of that. But man, I would take lessons to what happened here, because if the truckers and the people in China just one day say, we're not going to do this anymore, the regime in China, I think, would collapse a lot sooner than people think. I think they have such little support among people, as people are seeing now that the apparatus in Canada didn't have that much support. This is it's turning into a massive political movement and a massive moment in time. They did a poll the other day, a week ago, that said that 32% of people supported what the truckers stood for. That would make the truckers right now, if they were a political party, the largest political party in Canada, because they have multi-party parliamentary system. The polling as of today is 54% of the Canadian people support it, which makes them 2 times the largest political party in the country. And you're seeing some cracks in the facade. They had a member of parliament yesterday, a member of Trudeau's own party that basically changed parties because he said he couldn't put up with it anymore. And quite frankly, he's worried about his political salvation. There are many lessons to take from this. And one of them, I think, is the power working class people have, particularly people in transportation and building trades and kind of the logistics side, have over really the apparatus. Remember, 1.4 billion people There are only 92 million people in the Chinese Communist Party. And of the 92 million people, what does Mao say? It's a couple of thousand that really matter. And inside that, really the families that fight each other. The captive population is much more powerful than they realize. The lessons of Canada should be lessons to Lao Beijing.